Howdy, this is Sean Miles, and this is my top 10 chronological westerns. Some of the films might be considered offensive to some audiences. I'm choosing these films most specifically for certain film techniques and their importance to the western genre as a whole. Just gotta say that. 1939, we're beginning with John Ford's Stagecoach, which stars John Wayne. John Wayne and John Ford would make a lot of films together. John Ford also is the only director, I believe, currently that has 4 Oscars. That's a lot of Oscars. Anyway, Stagecoach was one of those films that Orson Welles said, all I had to do was watch this, and that's what happened with Citizen Kane. That's not what he said at all. However, he did once say he watched it a bunch of times in preparation for him to make Citizen Kane. Forced perspective is what John Ford really understood about telling a story visually, which Akira Kurosawa, who was a big fan of John Ford's work, was very, 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 very aware of. And in turn, Sergio Leone, who is also on this list, was influenced by Kurosawa, who was influenced by John Ford. So the influences go everywhere. The Oxbow Incident from 1943 is a very, very good movie to watch about today in terms of getting all the facts and taking the law into your own hands. Henry Fonda stars in this movie, and it's become a classic. It's the classic, but it came out the same year as Casablanca, so not really the happiest of movies, and they kind of wanted a more feel-good movie, I guess, than this one. Number 3, How the West Was Won. I know if you think the title of this movie is not that good, it's okay. This movie isn't the best movie in the world. Most specifically, what I want you to see if you watch this movie is just to try to see it in its Cinerama Smile Box form, which was in the Blu-ray. I'm not sure if it's on streaming, but the Smile Box of Cinerama gives you the recreation of the visual of the 3 different screens. If you were to see it in a movie theater, you would have 1, 2, 3. So it has that surrounding visual, like a Dolby Vision, but Dolby Atmos, but for your eyes almost. Not a great movie, but John Ford and John Wayne also returned to this, and it has the who's who of westerns in the sense of it's a mad, 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 mad world, had everyone in comedy at the time, literally. We move on to the spaghetti westerns from 1966. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Sergio Leone finished his trilogy of films starring Clint Eastwood, which he doesn't believe are connected, but fans have decided that are connected, and they have referred to it now as the Dollars Trilogy or the Man with No Name Trilogy. This being the prequel, but the third one released, putting Clint Eastwood's character in the middle of a civil war looking for gold, and 2 other people would be looking for it as well. There's the good, there's the bad, and there's the ugly. Most people think this is the pinnacle, the paramount of all westerns. I disagree. Once Upon a Time in the West from 1968. It has everything that you need in a western and more. It also has Charles Bronson, who I think is a little bit cooler than Clint Eastwood. Hot take, hot take, hot take. However, this movie, also directed by Sergio Leone, starts his second trilogy, the Once Upon a Time trilogy, which continues with Gui La Testa, which originally was titled Once Upon a Time the Revolution, but didn't really work out. So it was referred to as Gui La Testa, which would mean duck your head, or duck you sucker, which Sergio Leone thought was a common catchphrase in America. It is not. But this is a Zapata Western, a very different type of Western that we are used to, and kind of dark, very, very dark movie. But this was his first, and he kind of did his Western, his post-modern Western, did this Western, and now we go to 1993 Tombstone. Everybody's very excited about Val Kilmer and his return in Top Gun Maverick, and if you want to see a really good Val Kilmer performance, look no further than Tombstone in 1993, which also features Kurt Russell and Powers Booth giving a hell of a performance in that red shirt. It's so red. The Quick and the Dead from 1995 brings Sam Raimi, who recently just directed Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or whatever it was called. Basically, that movie which had Wanda in it more than Doctor Strange. Quick and the Dead from 1995 is a very, very fun action-y western directed by Sam Raimi, which doesn't feature the Oldsmobile for obvious reasons, however features a lot of Sam Raimi-ness. Very, very fun movie featuring Sharon Stone as our lead. Highly recommended if you want something just a little bit 90s in your life. Number 9, No Country for Old Men. We're going a little bit more modern and a little bit more sad. We all know how great this movie was, and it was directed by the Coen brothers. It features Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and of course we've got Javier Bardem in his terrifying role in his just beautifully directed, beautifully paced, beautifully everything. Very, very dark, and if you thought on our last list that, the neo-noir that was mentioned, the Big Lebowski, this is the same directors that did the Big Lebowski. They clearly know about westerns and genres and what's happening to my voice. Not a master of accents, if you hadn't realized. But anyway, my God, let me get my Western accent back before the end of this list. How about it? Number 10, we have The Magnificent Seven from 2010, which is a remake of the 1960s movie, which is a remake of the Akira Kurosawa movie.